thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Wednesday, February 28th, and today is National Chocolate Souffle Day. It's also National Tooth Fairy Day for all of you that believe in fairies. It's also National Floral Design Day, so shout out to all those florists out there. And you know what I mean? One of our viewers, young Pepper, who has been making floral arrangements of cannabis. And it is also National, this is your everyone's favorite day, you guys, because it is also National Public Sleeping Day. So I'm imagining that is to promote homelessness, since a lot of them are sleeping in the streets, but I'm not sure. I'll let you guys be the judge on that. And thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on the screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking off today, Rico's going to be joining us a little bit late today. He had a call that's taking him a little bit over time, so we are going to kick it off with Mr. Sohum Shah. He's a cannabis expert who loves to transplant, and not just plants, but also himself, being originally from Colorado, then to California, and then now in the great red state of Austin, Texas. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Sohum Shah.
Jason, thank you for that introduction.
Yes, sir.
You're right, Texas is a red state, but Austin might not quite be that same shade. You have to come down and visit for yourself and check it out.
Oh, I've been there a few times. I love Austin. It's always a great time. But you know my favorite part about being in Austin, right?
What's that?
Is that you're surrounded by Texas.
Well, come visit next time. We can smoke some THCA flower, or maybe some Delta 8 or Delta 10, which is a perfect transition to talk about what my story is today.
Oh boy.
So the state Senate in South Dakota has passed a stricter ban on Delta 8 and other intoxicating hemp products. And the other term that they use for this is very funny to me. Maybe this is a common term, but this is the first that I've heard of it. The state Senate has voted to pass the original stricter version of a ban on the widely available hemp-derived diet weed products that induce highs similar to marijuana. Again, that is not a term I've ever heard, but I guess that's what we're calling it now. Diet weed is the CBD and Delta 8 that you could buy in a smoke shop. House Bill 1125 had originally targeted a wide swath of products. The gummies, vape pens, pre-rolled joints, and smokable flowers can be produced using high concentrations of the psychoactive chemicals present in minuscule amounts in industrial hemp, or using synthetically derived versions of these same chemicals. Maybe it's important to point out, too, that this article was originally published by a small publication called the South Dakota Searchlight and then syndicated by Marijuana Moment. So that might frame some of the way that they're describing these products. So House Bill 1125 flip-flopped between which kinds of products would be covered as it moved through the lawmaking process. Representative Brian Mulder, a Republican from Sioux Falls, moved his bill through the House Health and Human Services Committee in its original form, but saw it modified on the House floor to target only products made from the lab-grown chemicals, which are sold under names like THCO, another new cannabinoid that you can get in smoke shops apparently in South Dakota. Representative Orrin Westmeister, a Democrat from Parade, told his fellow representatives that a ban on products made with naturally occurring chemicals would hurt small businesses, owners, and hemp growers alike. Under that change, products sold under names like Delta 8 or Delta 10 THC would still be legal to sell. The House passed Westmeister's amendment and then passed House Bill 1125 on a unanimous vote. All that changed in the HHS committee last week. Senator Brent Hoffman, a Republican from Sioux Falls, successfully proposed an amendment putting the language of the hoped-for ban right back where it was when Mulder introduced it. Senator Ryan Marr, a Republican from Isabel, tried to move the amendment onto the Senate floor on Monday, though he saw none of the success. The ban could result in a flood of products on South Dakota streets this spring as retailers move to clear their soon-to-be illegal inventory, Marr said. He also pointed out that the easy accessibility of Delta 8 products online and the investments made by smoke shops who invested in that state. And this is a really great quote that I think he puts out there, and it's not only applicable to South Dakota, but Marr said, "We always want to tout that our state is open for business until we don't like that business." And that seems to be a very common theme in places where potentially there's a voter passed initiative or some other type of legislation, but then it gets limited and amended according to what the legislators want and not what the people want. But that's really it right now. We're looking at South Dakota is attempting to prohibit Delta 8, Delta 10, other hemp-derived cannabinoids and hemp-derived cannabis products in smoke shops, and we'll see what happens. And I think we all know, but that's probably just another round of whack-a-mole game. But I'd love to hear what my fellow correspondents think.
First question, this I think is probably good for public safety and whatnot, but how are they really planning on enforcing it when you have all these gas stations and head shops everywhere just having all these products? And the reality is South Dakota doesn't have the police force to be able to go into all these places and really regulate them like that. So how are they really planning on enforcing this?
And even if they did, would that be a good use of tax dollars and of public servants and peace officers, public safety officers? Like, I don't think so. And I don't necessarily think that Delta 8 and Delta 10 are good or safe products, or I don't encourage necessarily people to use them. But as we've seen over and over again, prohibition is not an effective deterrent of human behavior. So the question is, why are they wasting legislative man hours discussing this issue when really what they should be talking about is how to reduce criminal penalties for possessing real cannabis? I feel like a lot of these municipalities, bro, they would have because you bring up an interesting point as far as the resources that they spend on these things, and I just feel like they would be able to get probably a lot farther with public perception than creating a ban and having law enforcement enforce it if they just put all of those funds into like some type of public messaging campaign and then came up with some other type of messaging that they just pummeled everybody in South Dakota with to shift their minds on that topic. I mean, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It needs to happen in every state. I mean, even here in California, it needs to happen. There's still a lot of people who don't understand.
Mm-hmm. I like it in principle, but you look at what happened in Colorado during legalization when they had the little rat cage debacle. They spent millions of dollars on some third-party marketing consultant to help them craft their messaging for their anti-youth smoking campaign, and they built these big rat cages in public spaces.
Oh, I remember that.
You're a lab rat. We don't know what the long-term effect of this. And it completely backfired. There was a huge trend on like Instagram and social media of people taking videos of themselves smoking joints in the rat cages.
Yeah. I mean, it's trendy, and like that's, oh man, I totally remember that. Oh, that was so.
What a debacle! They spent millions of dollars on that.
In all fairness, that probably brought a lot of tourism dollars into the state, though, because people all wanted to go and travel to take those pictures for their social medias because everybody's fiending for that dopamine from their social media accounts.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest winner in that was probably the marketing firm that came up with that, because they got some obscene public-private contract.
And not to mention, I think it was a huge success because it was bringing people in from all over the country to take pictures in cages.
Yeah.
All of this still boils down to the stupid definitions they applied to hemp versus marijuana or cannabis. Because now somebody's going to go, oh, you say I can't have Delta 9. Oh, I'm going to call it Delta 9A, and it's not defined that, or it's Delta 8 or it's Delta 10 or whatever the hell they try to put on this. And the problem is, and this is not brand new, when you try to prohibit shit that people want, you're chasing them to try to figure, oh, there's a loophole. Let me close the loophole. California's trying to do the same thing right now. We passed some hemp laws that basically outlaw analogs, isomers, derivatives, as much as they can. Now they're using the term intoxicating cannabinoids. That's another definitional term. And when you talk to people that don't want this, they act like, my progressive friends wanted to outlaw and tax every damn thing they didn't like. Well, you turn it over to conservatives, they do the same damn thing. We're going to outlaw it and tax it. Okay, but if you can't enforce it, why are you doing this? I mean, the conservatives rail against regulations, but when you give them a chance, they try to outlaw or regulate the shit out of this. So everybody at this has got egg on their face, and they don't want to admit people want to smoke pot. Get the fuck over it.
Yeah.
How do we get this open without wasting dollars on this shit?
That's right. Manndie, were you going to say something? I think I might have accidentally cut you off earlier.
Manndie? No?
I was going to say something to what Jason said earlier. I really, I think I already did comment on it, though.
Okay. All right. Well, seeing as that, man, this is going to be interesting to watch. I can't wait. South Dakota is such a train wreck half the time, and so this is going to be.
They're not trendsetters, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Well, they actually did. They actually did set one trend because they were the first state to pass a voter initiative with medical and adult use all at the same time as far as their opening debut, which was later turned around by the governor against the will of the people. But nonetheless, that is trend setting in my mind. But nonetheless, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Oh yes, and we're back. I'm gonna roll into to my story, but my original first story, I'm gonna do that one last today because I definitely want to hear what Rico has to say on this. But Manndie, we always like it's in Luke's absence, we definitely like to cover some of these outlaw busts, and there was a few different busts that were in the news today.
There was a couple of big busts this last couple of days.
Yeah, there was a couple, but this one I think was the most interesting to me. The rest of them were all like pretty similar and whatnot. Yeah. But this one I think is interesting because an upstate man is accused of using a drone to send tobacco and marijuana into a South Carolina prison, you guys. Oh man.
Yeah, this actually happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds very common.
Yes, right? The South Carolina Department of Corrections, SCDC, said 2 men were charged for allegedly helping someone send contraband into the Ridgeland Correctional Institution. Officials said the suspects reportedly tried to use a drone to send tobacco and marijuana into the prison yard. According to officials, one of the suspects, 43-year-old Alex Nash of Spartanburg, was out on bond for similar crimes when the incident occurred. Officials stated that Nash was charged with providing prisoners with contraband, possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, and criminal conspiracy. Officials added that the other person involved, 39-year-old Christopher Brannon from Moore, was charged with some of the same crimes. Well. Man, they got a few people on some crimes, high crimes, I would say. and they had one of these things, one of these little drones, just dropping off little care packages to the inmates. And this just reminds me of like I knew a lot of people in different minimum security prisons or facilities also across the country, and a lot of them were kind of like camps. And a lot of people would go and just like with duffel bags and throw them over the fence, and then call their friends on their cell phones and be like, "Hey, we just dropped the package on the yard, so you need to run over to the fence and go grab it before the guards see it." And so this just reminds me of that, and is more technologically advanced type of drop off. I think it's pretty interesting, and I wonder if jails will all of a sudden start to get some type of airborne radar defense to prohibit drone deliveries in the future. But nonetheless, what do you guys think about this?
I have a couple of things. First, Alex and Christopher, you guys are real friends. Good on you for trying to help your homies.
Oh, that's funny.
That's solid.
Yes.
But this is common right now. I mean, think about it. If you have someone that you love who's incarcerated, who is calling you talking about these god-awful conditions that they're living under, and you want to do something to try to help them, you're going to find a way. And this is like a shameful plug, but it's really also just fucking true. If you pick up a copy of Luke's book, High Price, there's a very good story.
There's a story in there about drone delivery, huh?
Not well, drone delivery, but how things come in the prison.
Interesting. Like usually I thought that's all from the conquistadors.
Fun little story. Yeah.
I mean,
I've been there. I've got some stories too. I've also represented correctional officers, and when you shut the door and ask them, how does a cell phone get into a jail? It doesn't come in somebody's ass. Okay.
No.
Well, cell phones are kind of big, especially if it's an iPhone.
Well,
It's not quite a pack of dominoes, Dale.
iPhone Max.
I was in a camp, private prison, okay, and we had the Southsiders bringing shit into the facility, and they'd put some young pup out there and go, okay, someone dropped something in the field. When no one's looking, you're going to run your ass out there and grab it and run back. Okay, if you get pinched, too bad, we'll send somebody else. And there was tobacco trade, there was cannabis trade. People cook Pruno. If there's something they want, they'll find a way to get it in there.
I know how to make some Pruno, and they even came in my cell one time, and there was I don't understand how the guard didn't see this, but like he opened my drawer and there was just a big bag of Pruno in there, and he didn't take it or anything. I was shocked, and we ended up drinking it like the following night, and I was just like, still didn't understand why I didn't take it.
Oh my god!
I mean, I was bored. What else am I gonna do? I sat there and I watched after lockup. I sat there and drank it and watched what were they called, the people that get to be out there. I'm forgetting the word. The like basically the teachers' pets for the deputies.
Well, the trustees.
Yeah, the trustees. Yeah, there we go. The trustees, and the trustees were watching South Park that night, so I had a good laugh. It was very entertaining.
Well, I couldn't get it past my nose. It stinks terrible.
You know what I thought? You know what's funny? You know what I thought it smelled like and tasted like? It just tasted the same to me as like a screwdriver, orange juice and vodka.
It's got a bite to it, yeah. They make it out of bread and shit like that, and let it cook in your toilet.
No, we didn't cook it in the toilet.
I'll pass.
We did not cook it in no toilet. No, we cooked it in a plastic bag, bro, and then it had to burp it and whatnot. Let the fruits ferment
I'm so
and all
grossed
that.
out right now. Can we stop talking about it?
Yeah, back to the story though. I think that this is funny because I think we all know shit like this happens, whether by a drone or through a guard or whatever. But to me, it's like, man, these guys didn't go through the proper channels. Like, you gotta give the guard their nut. You gotta give the warden his nut. That's how that shit works, right? Like, you try and go outside of a system. No wonder you got popped.
Yeah. Hey, I wonder too. I mean, I would think that a drone delivery drop off would be a much safer bet for people not wanting to get caught bringing contraband into the facility, because normally traditionally you'd have have a visit, and the visitors would bring the stuff in, and then at the same time, once you bring contraband into a jail, you're guilty of a felony. The same thing with like if you get searched by a cop. right? If you get searched by a cop and you have some drugs on you that they don't find, and then when they search you again, once they take you into
tack
jail,
that on a bit, and then
Well, no, but at that point, if they find it when they're in the jail, that's more of an enhanced charge. If they didn't find it in the first place and you didn't alert them of that you had it prior to arriving in the jail, that's more of an enhancement charge.
Yeah, because you're guilty of sneaking drugs into a jail at that point, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but jails ain't prison. Okay, when you come into jail, they book you, they process you, a lot of, squat and lift your sack, all that kind of shit. When you're actually in prison and you're not coming and going, it's a different dynamic, and there are forces on the yard to control this. And the one riot I got in the middle of where they're trying to kill each other is someone was fucking with the cell phone trade. I'm going to rat you out, and the next thing you know, trying to stab them. And so this is controlled by groups on these, the compounds, if you will. And if somebody brings it in by drone and no one sees it and rats you out, but the guards, the cops the correctional officers I represented, they want you smoking weed. You're not out fighting, trying to stab each other when you're stoned. They'll kill each other. Cigarettes, heroin, meth, coke, it's all in there. They'll kill each other for it. But when they smoke weed, they tend to be more mellow. A different, and the guards know. It's like, let's not pretend you're not getting this in. And a lot of times they turn their eye to it because they want you to do things for them. And it's quid pro quo everywhere. If you want someone to take a beat down and you just turn your eye and go, I need this motherfucker to be smacked, or a shot caller comes to you and go, I want someone to be smacked, talk to him, we're going to kick the shit out of them. There's a lot of things that happen inside prison that the average person would just, the church ladies would go, oh my God, they'd pass out. It's like, grow up, God damn it. This is what happens when you put a bunch of crazy people together and let them to their own, the wits, and they will survive. They will survive.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's well documented and portrayed in mainstream media and movies and TV and all sorts of stuff. So I think at this point, if you're shocked by it, that's willful ignorance.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, oh man. All right, we're gonna
wishful thinking, maybe.
We're gonna keep this train rolling, so then that way you guys don't have to worry about any conjugal visits or anything. And coming up next, we are gonna roll on into Miss Manndie Tingler. She is the founder of the Women's Canna Awards, and coming up in March, that's right, it is Women's Month coming up in a couple of days, and the Women's Cannabis Awards will be held in March here in LA, and so make sure you get all your votes in at womenscannaawards.com. It is none other than Miss Manndie Tingler.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is Wednesday, and today I bring you a story that unfortunately lacks a little love, and you're about to see what I mean. A low-ranked American tennis player is banned after testing positive for marijuana at a tournament. Coming direct off the court from London, a low-ranked American tennis player who competed for the University of North Carolina has been suspended for 2 years. Yes, 2 years, folks, after testing positive for marijuana during an ATP Challenger tournament, the International Tennis Integrity Agency announced on Tuesday.
Did you say integrity?
The Tennis Integrity Agency. The ITIA said Casey Kenya in competition urine test contained cannabis in August of 2023 at Cary, North Carolina, where he lost in the doubles quarterfinals. He is a 21-year-old with a career-high doubles ranking of 1,317th place and has a total career tennis earnings of, wait for it, $482, according to the ATP website. Now, you guys, the pay rate is something we can go ahead and talk about on another time, but for now, stick with me about the cannabis. The tour's site shows that all of his ranking points and all of that prize money were earned during the lower tier tournament in Cary, and everything he accumulated there must now be relinquished, says the ITIA. The news released Tuesday from the London-based ITIA said Kenya was unable to show that he bore no fault for the violation, but the agency said that it accepted that the player, quote, did not intentionally breach the provisions of the sport's anti-doping program. That was the reason for the 2-year ban, the ITIA said, and an intentional violation is punishable by a 4-year suspension. They really cut him a break there. Mm-hmm. Kenya's period of ineligibility began February 2nd when the ITIA's decision was issued and will expire February 1st of 2026. His results, prize money, and ranking points from the Kerry event and any tournament after that until now are forfeited. During a suspension of this sort, a player is barred from playing or even attending a tennis tournament. Can you believe that? He can't even attend the tournament, which is absolutely like just crazy making to me. I can't even wrap my head around this. So it says during a suspension of this sort, a player is barred from playing or even attending, guys. You can't even go. Like, what? Anyway, long story short, this is a big fat piece of shit story, and I can't even believe that the tennis organization behind this is standing on this. I'm gonna lob this ball now on over to my fellow correspondents and let them serve up their own opinions. This is Carmen Sacramento coming at you for High at 9 News.
That's very cute, Mandy. I see what you did there. That was very
like that?
cute. Yeah, lobbing and serving and all that. But man, I'll tell you what. I think this headline is so triggering because they're like a low-ranked American tennis player. Like they didn't even mention their name because no one's gonna know who the hell it is because it's a low-ranking player.
There's an integrity organization in tennis. Well, like, how much more pretentious can you get as a sport?
Well, I think that...
I understand that for doping and for other forms of cheating and whatever, like, that makes sense. But to bring cannabis use under the organization that is the oversight for integrity in the game, I think is a little bit absurd and heavy-handed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
but the international outlook on drugs is still, unfortunately, under the control of a bunch of idiots and morons. Mm-hmm. They do this, Sohum, because how does this involve integrity? Okay, and how is this doping? Okay, I never heard of cannabis enhancing your performance. That's why we're trying to stop you from doping.
I thought it was
artificially enhance it.
I thought it was a performance-enhancing drug.
I think it is, but I think that's the problem. They cannot classify it as a performance-enhancing drug because it completely undermines their own argument by following all this bullshit propaganda and fake medicine that they've perpetuated for so long. So those two things cannot coexist. So they cannot actually call it a performance-enhancing drug. So they just, they say you're undermining the integrity of the game, which, again, how is this guy getting a leg up from using cannabis?
Well,
he's just probably not that good.
If I remember,
I can't even get behind this performance enhancing concept. I covered an article on this a couple of months back. I can't remember when, but I can't get behind that it's performance enhancing. What I can say is that it's body recovering. And when you are an athlete, you need recovery time. Your muscle tissue, your ligaments, your bones, everything needs a break. And if we're going to go ahead and call, cannabis a performance-enhancing drug, then that would be like, I don't know, calling Tylenol a performance-enhancing drug. Like, it's just not, it doesn't work. It doesn't line.
All right.
But that's the problem with trying to define things in these antiquated ways. I mean, they still call things a drug, based upon some misguided concept. What the hell does a drug mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, we can't even get agreement on that. But these concepts that, you're performance enhancing because you're cheating then, okay, and then this involves integrity. When you ask them to define this, the foundation of everything just falls apart because they quite literally are full of shit. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have someone confront them with scientific facts and evidence from out there, people in the field, dealing with people recovering from sporting events, and what you do to enhance your ability. Mm-hmm. You're taking things to, steroids. You're taking, enhancers of your hemoglobin. There's a lot of things you do to make you a better performer. Smoking weed is not in that category. So this continues to just be obfuscation because I told you not to do it, therefore I'm going to spank you if you do.
Yeah.
It's nonsensical.
I covered a story also similar to this topic. It actually was a research study. I wish we could like just go through our archives hella fast and pull it up. But basically what the story or what the study revealed was that it is not actually a performance enhancer. What it actually does is it allows the body or the brain to relax more and not focus so much on the intensity of your workout as much as like just being present in the workout. It's more about a mind altering, not a physical alteration, according to the research study. They're really talking about how psychologically you're more relaxed. And so therefore, your workout is probably going to be more beneficial. But there wasn't a direct correlation to like a runner running faster. As a matter of fact, I believe the research studies showed that there was actually a decrease in pace, but an increase in distance.
So more stamina, but just not as fast.
I mean, I think when I use the term performance enhancing, I don't necessarily mean it in the sense of like, you know, anabolic steroids or something that's physically making you stronger or faster. I mean, I think you're right. The point you made about is Tylenol a performance enhancing drug when you brought that up earlier, Manndie. Like, I think that's a very valid point. There's a lot of things if you're a professional athlete, probably everything that you're introducing into your lifestyle is in some way performance enhancing, and where that line gets drawn is in some areas very clear. Obviously, like, I'm not saying that people should necessarily be able to just freely take steroids and compete. Although, side note, I think there was some talk about some new Olympic competition or like athletic competition, but it's open to anybody who wants to take steroids. That'll be interesting. But
oh boy,
unrelated.
That sounds like something to watch right there.
Yeah, that sounds dope.
We can have like the athletic weed Olympics, and we'll just see what happens. We'll compare our stats to like other sports organizations and see what we're working with.
Marketing campaign, right, Manndie?
You know what? I
won the steroid-enhanced weed smoking Olympics. Okay,
you couldn't make the NFL. Come over here.
You know. I think the only reason that this story is so out there, because I remember a couple months ago there was a story that we covered about a tennis player that was kicked, that was not allowed to play because I remember some fans were complaining about the smell of cannabis in the stands during the game. Do any of you remember this?
No.
I think it was the U.S. Open, if I remember correctly, and a bunch of the fans were complaining about the smell of cannabis in the stands.
Oh, it was the tennis. It was the U.S. Open in New York,
right? Yeah,
that's absolutely what it was.
Yep, exactly. See?
Oh, shit. Turn down the lights, turn on some Led Zeppelin, and enjoy the show. What the fuck's wrong with these?
I heard that. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial.
Like weed every show. Come on.
Yes, and on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Yes. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the episodes that we cover on today's show are available on our website at www.highat9news.com, as well as we also too want to remind you that we are promoting this GoFundMe page for our very own Matthew St. Germain. Please take some time, send some type of a donation. His son is extremely sick and ill, and they are in need of some funds for their medical bills and whatnot. So I do encourage as many people as humanly possible to go to this GoFundMe and help. The St. Germains are a fantastic, loving family, and we hope that you will help spread some generosity with them.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go. Woo!
All right, coming up next, man, I really want Rico to comment on this story, you guys. But let's see. You guys want to go with my story, Dale? You want to go? I think Dale, your story is more interesting. So I'm gonna go into my second story, and then Dale, we're gonna go to you next. Hopefully Rico will be with us by then. You good with that?
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
I'm good.
Oh man, you guys, man, oh man, you know, it's not a day in cannabis without a classic story from, that's right, New York, you guys. Governor Hochul, she's at it again, and she is calling on social media giants to crack down on illegal marijuana shops, you guys. Oh my goodness, this is so crazy. Governor Kathy Hochul is planning to call out major social media platforms, accusing them of promoting illegal marijuana shops in New York. It's a problem the state and city have struggled to combat. The governor is expected to call on tech giants such as Meta and Google to stop the promotion of illegal cannabis shops on their platforms. There have been several calls for action from the cannabis industry as they say this hurts legal operators and takes dollars away from the state. At Wednesday's press conference, she'll be joined by licensed cannabis operators. I feel like she's just grandstanding on this, but nonetheless, Governor Hochul is expected to demand Google Maps stop directing users to shops, complete with reviews that may appear to normalize illegal activities. It could be hard for any user to tell the difference between licensed businesses and illegal stores with numbers, links, and addresses that only would lure customers in. Meta, which operates Instagram and Facebook, said in a previous statement in part that they, in quotes, prohibit content in both ads and organic pages that promotes the buying and selling of drugs, including marijuana. While there are 77 licensed cannabis retailers in the state, the city estimates at least 1,500 retailers are operating illegally. And at Wednesdays, which is today, 12:15, which is just 25 minutes ago, an announcement other enforcement efforts that may steer the industry in the right direction are expected to be detailed. And if that comes out, we will cover that tomorrow on High at 9 News. But man, oh man, this lady is just grasping at straws, and I don't think she has a clue as to what to do. But nonetheless, this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, prohibition at it again, but it's, I mean, crazy. I guess my question is, do they do the same thing with enforcement if somebody is selling liquor selling booze without a liquor license? Like, do they go to Google and demand that they deplatform those people, or do they just go in and do their normal enforcement?
I mean, well,
Google can't figure out how to do anything because they want to be a First Amendment protected platform, not a publisher. And so that battle's going on externally in the courts right now, and internally. If you say, oh, you've got to identify that they're legal, I mean, no, they're not going to watch for that. I mean, I get a Facebook just inundated all day long with ads for people buying what I consider to be questionably legal products. Mail them right to your goddamn house. How do you think you're going to attack that by I'm the governor, I'm going to tell you to stop this, we're going to pass a law? The answer is, yeah, fuck you. Step around the back. We got what you want, okay? It's nonsense.
It is a dumb law. But to be clear, from a tech perspective, it's actually very easy to do, and I have a very good solution. So Google, Facebook, Instagram, anybody, if you need we need some consulting on that, shamelessly, please reach out to me. I know the fix for you.
Amazing. I mean, this is the thing to me with this is like is just so ridiculous. I mean, but at the same time, it's really not, because they did manage to censor conservatives on social media platforms, and so, to me, this is just the same thing, but just to cannabis businesses, whether they're legal or illegal. Because they do both maintain the policy of not advertising cannabis, even though there's so many trappers pages I find regularly, or find my page actually regularly on Instagram and whatnot, and like a majority of followers that I see that start to follow the page are like just accounts that just only do stories and seem as though that they are just out there to trap. It's like throwaway accounts.
Yeah, burner accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the burner distros they got in California.
Oh, I was going to say something else when it came to that. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this, Rico? The governor going to call on social media companies to tell Google Maps, hey, stop advertising these illicit trap shops and don't let people write reviews and have your phone number on there. I mean, these are actually, most of them are legal businesses that just happen to additionally sell weed. Like, a lot of them are just normal head shops. And so, like, how I think Google's going to have their hands tied with this.
Yeah, I don't know how this is even going to work out whatsoever. I mean, that's a big ask, and businesses are going to pop up every single day. So there's no way to eradicate it all. It's like, it just makes no sense. None of this.
I mean, the way to eradicate it is to issue enough licenses into the market that trapping becomes not really a financially viable way to survive. And make it easy to become legal, and then you don't have this problem.
I agree with you, Sohum.
That's what they should be spending their time doing.
I agree with you, Sohum, but let me tell you something. That will never happen in New York, okay, for a couple of different reasons. One, we don't have interstate commerce yet, for one, and the reality is the state of New York doesn't have enough infrastructure in place to actually produce high quality products like what are produced in the state of California. So therefore their power grid's not substantial enough to have indoor, and so all they offer is this boof outdoor stuff that's by the hemp growers that is already 2 years old that's still being sold on shelves today. So that's not a realistic fix. In
New York does not have a power grid capable of powering indoor cultivation.
Not on massive scales like we have in California. Not even close. Not even close.
I would like to see more.
Oh, I could go over the whole thing with you sometime if you get some time.
It's a pretty large city that they have there, so I would be surprised if their grid was incapable. No,
their stuff is totally incapable of facilitating large scale grows in the state of New York. They have rolling blackouts all day, every day.
Interesting. I'd be curious to see more about that.
Okay. Happy to show you.
Well, I can tell you, I've had people look at buildings and areas for me, and we need to find out what's the infrastructure if we're growing indoor. And you'd be surprised how much it takes to get infrastructure into a building that's going to burn through electricity to grow weed.
Yep.
And you can't do it. It's expensive. Even in California, pulling the infrastructure in is almost prohibitively expensive, even if you have access to electricity. So it's a mess trying to get these things set up for indoor cultivation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, to be clear, I'm sure that applies in a lot of states. Like Texas, for sure, I think would be having serious problems if they had large-scale indoor cultivation. I'm sure a lot of like smaller states as well, but New York, I'm open to it if that's the truth, and so be it. But I've never heard that, and I'd be interested in learning more about it.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true. All right, we're gonna go to a commercial. We're gonna be right back. Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition.
All right, y'all. Sorry for my tardiness. I had to take care of some business. It's the end of the sales month.
He was doing that Cabbage Patch, you guys.
Cabbage Patch all day, baby. This 36-year practicing attorney and newly retired founding partner of Armada Law Court is here to break us off with a little foul-mouthed knowledge. Just in time for hump day. Mr. Pissing Up a Rope himself, Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. This morning's story is hard for me because I represent employers in California. And when you have employees, our labor laws are very pro-employee. And I've had some companies that have very difficult times when employees come after them. This is a story about Glass House. It's out of Law 360. I'm just going to start out by saying this is the complaint. It's not all the, response and find out what actually happened here. This is filed by an employee, and it's filed as a class action against Glass House, which is one of the bigger conglomerates here in California. And they have manufacturing, which is growing it. They have distribution. They have shape changing of it. They have their hands in a lot of different parts of this. And what I've done many times for cannabis companies starting up is I've set up, corporations. I've set up management corporations. We bring in employment corporations, we do all the contracts. And we do this to protect the owners, the entities under California law from debts, from being sued and things like that. And it tends to work pretty well until you get an employee pissed off and decides to make a labor board claim. Now, what they're alleging is that Glass House put them under so much pressure that they were forced to put their time into the work they weren't compensated for. They weren't given their rest breaks, meal breaks. And if they were fired, they weren't paid fully because they owed them money. And all of this falls under a group of laws in California we call the Private Attorney General Act. And it's been on the books for a while. But it applies to wage and hour complaints, primarily from employees. And these are draconian because unless you can prove beyond, and not a reasonable doubt, but as an attorney, I want my client to give me what I call clear and convincing evidence that this employee's allegations are bullshit. Because if I don't have that, then I'm looking at how much money is it going to cost me to settle these cases. Because it is difficult, if not impossible, to defend these statutory claims, we call them. If somebody says, hey, I worked 4 hours and I didn't get a break, and you don't have documentation, clear documentation, they actually got their break, you're going to be paying some money if you fire them or if they make these claims. Same thing with meal breaks. If they're using some piece of equipment, typically a cell phone, if they're using their own cell phone, you're not compensating them, that's a labor code violation. Okay, it just goes on and on. If you give them a statement of here's how many hours you worked and what we paid you, if it doesn't have all the requirements in it, labor code violation. And all of these, under these private attorney general theories, come with attorney's fees to the prevailing party. Now, if you're the employee and you win, the employer's writing you a check not only for what they won, but for all their attorney's fees. And this shit will kill a company. I'm just telling you right now. And if the employer wins, you've got to prove that the claim was brought in bad faith, or you don't get your attorney's fees. Okay? It's like when I go into these fights, I tell my clients I'm fighting with one hand tied behind my back here. So, as a cautionary tale for anybody out there in the cannabis industry running a business with employees, if you don't have someone that knows about HR in your business, you better find them. Because Glass House is about to get spanked here, okay? Because I handle these things. Our firm does this. We represent employers. We set these all up. And if the employer's doing something without clearing it through HR or their attorney, and you're looking at trouble. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these small employers, they can't afford to pay attorneys to answer the phone and talk about, well, my employee did this or they did that. What do I do with it? Or having an established HR department. So, the heartbreakers are like social equity clients. I've got some of those, and they get one of these claims filed against them. They're struggling just to get off the ground. And they got some employees, they're trying to do right by them. They think they're following all the rules, and there's some technical violations. And, the come to Jesus talk is this may cost you your business. Okay. It's real hard to have those discussions. So this is a cautionary tale for anybody in California. Our labor laws can burn you and close down your business if you're not careful. And for anybody in any other states opening a cannabis business, HR is there to protect your company, not your employees. The laws do that. If you don't have HR to protect you, this is like practicing defensive medicine. You've got to be able to hand to me a case that's ironclad, and I can tell the other side to kiss my ass, we ain't paying you a nickel. And it's still going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourself. I'm going to throw this back at you for anybody in the industry. Be careful. If you got some experience, let me hear it. But this Glass House is going to teach a lot of employers a lot of bad things about running a business in California with employees. Go back at you guys. What do you think?
Man, oh man.
And there's so much on this right here. I think that we as an industry are a target for a lot of things. There is a perception that because you own a cannabis business that you are very wealthy. And also there are a lot of opportunities for employees to, really maneuver themselves in such a way within your business to when they depart, they can find so many different things to come back and file against you to make life difficult. It's scary as a business operator in cannabis to have to terminate an employee now because you don't know what they're going to retaliate against you for or how they're going to respond. It is very scary. I've had to lay off and terminate employees. Those are two different things. But there is a very, very fine line between making sure that you're following all the laws in your requirements as a business operator and keeping an eye and tracking the fact that you are abiding by the laws, because you have to be able to CYA even after you've gotten rid of this employee. And on the Glass House tip, one thing that really sucks, and this is not just for Glass House, but this is also for any of the larger players. This is one of the burdens that you have to bear, being, the big kid on the boat. This is one of the shitty parts, and it's not all glamour and glitz for the big operators all the time.
No,
Manndie, would you call that the glass tip?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I like that.
I mean, I'm a little confused a little bit by this, because it says that they hire. You're claiming, Dale, that they created a separate company strictly to hire the employees. I thought that under the state law, the licensed company had to employ the workers. So how did they get that workaround?
Well, the only requirement that a cannabis company that has to have employees are delivery. Okay? You have to be an employee of a retail, be a delivery driver. So I've set these companies up where each license is held by a separate corporation. We have a management corporation. I represent clients who go out and do trimming and other things like that they try to take some of the labor costs and put them other places. But what California's done is they've decided to make it relatively easy to bust through all these corporate veils, we call them. We set them up for protection. But if you're a wage and hour employee and some director did something or a shareholder was involved in it or a company doesn't have enough money to pay you, they start busting through this to get to your personal assets. No other kind of debt gets to do this, okay? So it's like I said, I go to bat with one hand, sometimes two hands tied behind my back. These companies that are struggling to make payroll, I tell them, you got to budget $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 for legal fees and other expenses to defend yourself, and that's not settling the case. And for Glass House, this is going to stretch potentially into the millions of dollars. And I don't know that you have this money just sitting around. It's difficult, if not impossible, to insure for it. Okay, that's another. Even if you could get the insurance, it's hard to have it cover things that are claimed to be negligent or intentional acts that violate laws. I mean, it's a mess. It is I don't have a good answer. Every compass heading is like, I got to tell you, you got cancer. We're going to have to start some bad stuff on you. We're going to cut your arm off or whatever. I've had those discussions. And you sit down and close the door. It's like, it's time to have a come to Jesus talk here. That this may ruin your company. How are we going to do this? And what do you learn? And when I set these up, excuse me, I try to give people an idea what HR is, what the documents they need, that they're at least protected on paper. But if you don't follow up, and you're going to get in trouble in how you actually run it, or how you can protect yourself if somebody claims you're not running it right. And that's where it boils down to problems of startups. You can't afford to have an HR person on staff. These PEOs that do HR, they cost money. When you're trying to pay bills, you got to have one of the owners is HR, okay? And you like, I read what it says, and it's like, yeah, but you ain't fucking doing it. And now we got trouble. What are we going to do now?
You know, there's also a huge overhead. I mean, this is just, we have to have HR in our industry. Bigger companies, if you don't have an entire department that's focused on your HR, you are just waiting to be sued. But for those smaller operators out there, you don't have to employ a full-time human resources manager. There are a ton of ancillary businesses out there that will provide this service to you at a fraction of the cost of hosting an employee in your office, that will provide, you know, employee screenings for interviews. They will do offers of employment. They will do terminations. They will do trainings for your staff. They'll do all the things for a fraction of the cost. So don't skimp on this. I can't emphasize how important this is. This is just as important as having insurance.
And I mean, I think a lot of it, what it comes down to, and this is what those third-party companies or consultants are going to use, is having really solid SOPs in terms of how you handle each of those processes and not to deviate from them. You know, for example, like, you know, if you work in the financial, like in fintech, and you get terminated, you're getting brought into your supervisor's office, potentially with an HR person. It might be a 5 or 10 minute meeting. You're being informed that you're being terminated, and depending on, I mean, by the time you get back to your desk, your access to email and everything has already been cut off. Yeah. So there's no chance of you conducting any type of sabotage or stealing files or anything like that. And you might even be standing there with an HR or a security person who's letting you pack up your stuff and being walked out of the building. And that, you know, it's not because necessarily you were suspicious or you did anything wrong, but they have very specific protocols and SOPs in place on how to handle this stuff to mitigate the risk of whatever a disgruntled former employee might do. And we have different risks in cannabis, right? You know, there's stories about people going and spraying their former employer's crop with, you know, banned pesticides or other types of sabotage like that. So the risks are different, but the point being is there's, you know, if you set up the correct procedures and you abide by them, then you can mitigate a lot of that risk.
Well, I've had to deal with smaller employers that didn't document that they gave someone a rest break of 10 minutes every 4 hours, or that they gave them a meal break. They may have offered it to them, but they didn't have the proof that the person got it. Okay? And so when they come to me and I say, all right, I need a bulletproof defense, clear and convincing documents, preferably signed by that person, that yes, I got my rest break, yes, I got my meal break, yes, you paid me all my money, all, you know, or I got an adequate wage statement, or I didn't have to get dressed before I came to work in your clothes, that I clocked in and then I did all. I mean, that's the kind of shit that's in this glass house. I had to put my lab coat on my own time, so I'm going to sue you for that. That's the kind of nitpicky shit that will kill a company. If I'm trying to maneuver a company to raise $1 million+ to open a business, and they're trying to allocate money for everything, and there's only a handful of owners, because this is a small business, $1 million industry, $1 million business in our industry is small. Okay? You don't have the budgets. And very often you think, oh, I pulled up something off the internet, I got HR documents, but I don't have all the proof my attorney says I need. Well, bend over and write a big check to me, because I got to run a business too. I got employees to pay. I can't do this for free for you. And here's the reality, that you done fucked up because I can't defend you. Not a bad person, but I don't have the documents, the videos. I mean, with security cameras, I love it because I can show the other side. This is what this idiot did. They ran a red light or, whatever. They're one of them screaming at their husband and come back to the shop and they've been in an accident. I don't know how it happened. Well, I'm watching the fucking video, you idiot. When you're having a fight with your husband, you don't know what the hell you're doing driving a car. It violates policy. Your ass is fired. That's easier for me to defend. And I got to bring 10 witnesses in. So, well, that never happened. They never said it. Well, that's a liar's contest, and it's an expensive one. I'm happy to have it, but these cases are hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees. That's the big stick that they put over you to settle them. And I don't have a defense. Yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Something else that I just wanted to point out too is that in cannabis, businesses typically start out small. They're in startup mode for the first, couple months or years or whatnot, and then they grow. And it's easy from an HR perspective to be really lackadaisical when your team is itty bitty and you're all the executives, right? The second you bring anyone else onto your team that is not an executive, you must start following like real employment law, like start tracking, or you're just leaving yourself wide open for a disaster. And that means the executive team also needs to be paying attention to what they're doing and how they're behaving in front of the new staff. Be mindful. Growth requires change. And often that means more rules that you have to put in place.
Boy.
In an industry that doesn't like to follow rules. There you go. That's my dilemma. Pay me now or pay me later.
Side, y'all. This is the business side. You got to keep your game tight.
Well, wouldn't you say, Dale, that like for the industry, since you say it's an industry that doesn't like to follow the rules, that old habits die hard?
Well, exactly. And most of us are entrepreneurs. Let's just be clear. I've burned through 20 hours a day, 80-hour weeks for years and years. Like I did that, trying to set business up, get where I want to go. And so we think the whole world operates like that. Oh, it's just an extra few minutes, do a few things here and there. When you hire an employee, no, it's like you've got to follow the rules more importantly than for them, because if they say you didn't do something right and you come to me and I can't prove it, you're wrong and you're paying a lot of money. And it'll kill small businesses. Let's not make a mistake here. This can ruin a small business.
And to that point, Dale, too, we have to remember that as the industry expands and our employment base becomes larger, that there's going to be more and more people that are doing this as a job, like as a paycheck, right? Like not everybody that is coming to do this necessarily has the same passion that we do for building businesses from the ground up, for entering at an early stage into the industry. And as such, they're going to be much more willing to view it through the lens of employment law violations versus, doing what they have to get the business going.
Well,
I have a friend that's got a trimming business. They're a bunch of old Hmong ladies, and they'll sit and trim for 12 hours, smoking their pipe and drinking their tea. You can never get away with that in the open labor market with following labor laws. I mean, these people know each other since Laos. They don't give a shit. They're not going to rat anybody out. That's the kind of thing that happens in the industry. When you go into the labor law and have labor forces, someone's got to step in and say, stop, you got to go take a 10-minute break. Stop, you got to go to lunch. Stop, whatever. And you got to document.
And make them clock out.
Absolutely. And agree that I got my rest break, or give them an hour, okay, or whatever. It's mind-boggling, but it's the reality we got to face.
And we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to roll right into the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, who had some dope dadness, I guess, to do this morning, but apparently everything is okay because he's been dancing the happy Cabbage Patch all morning. That's right. It is none other than Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your patience with me today. It's been a crazy couple of days. So, my story today is a little bit of a doozy. I'm going to try to...
Can't wait for this.
Keep it as... What's that?
I can't wait for this. I'm so excited.
Yes. It is a doozy. Brought to us by MJ Biz Daily's Chris Roberts, just in time for the last 2 days of Black History Month. And I'm going to read the highlights of this story. You can read the whole thing on highat9news.com. But for sake of time, just going to buzz through as much that I can. I revised a lot of it, but this shit is deep. All right, so
here we go.
New York marijuana retailers recorded roughly $150 million in sales last year, nearly $300 million less than estimates and far shy of the promised multi-billion-dollar state market. At least part of the reason for the state's slow rollout of adult-use cannabis was a 2022 lawsuit that challenged Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act's social justice initiatives, which were intended to help diversify the marijuana industry and undo harms created by the war on drugs. That suit, which has prompted a nationwide reevaluation of social equity programming, is one of a series of constitutional challenges that claim prioritizing state residents for a cannabis business license violates the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. Constitution's Dormant Commerce Clause. Me and Dale have been beating this drum for over a year now, and it is having real consequences already, even before federal legalization. So at least 6 of these lawsuits that were filed in California, New York, Washington State, and most recently Maryland involve either Jeffrey or Justina Jensen, a white couple from Pasadena, California, who unsuccessfully applied for a retail license back in 2019. Reached by phone, Justina Jensen declined to comment. "I don't do press," is what she said, which is very weird because she does do lawsuits, and all that's in these lawsuits is on public record. So that's kind of press too, but I digress. The Jensens did not reply to a subsequent email seeking comment. Regulators in the states where the Jensens have sued declined to comment on the cases, citing the pending litigation. While it's unclear if the Jensens' motivation for filing the suits is the constitutional question or merely a tactic to obtain license is beyond all of us. But the lawsuit's impact has been profound, possibly nowhere more so than in New York, where the rollout of adult use marijuana sales has been a quote-unquote disaster, says their governor. In addition to delaying market launches, the Jensen-involved lawsuits also have forced lawmakers and regulators to reevaluate social media programs entirely. Our good friend and the principal of Ananda's strategy, Hirsch Jain, said to MJ Biz Daily, "The significant delays created by these lawsuits have made realizing the vision of social equity almost impossible. In large part because less capitalized small businesses simply do not have the resources to delay operations while lawsuits wind their way through the courts. Setting aside the irony of a white couple challenging laws intended to boost minority participation in regulated industry, the lawsuits and resulting chaos also fulfill grim predictions from law professors and legal experts en masse. They all warn that the well-intended social equity laws favoring local residents risk constitutional challenges, citing the Dormant Commerce Clause, a prophecy first fulfilled in August 2022 when the U.S. First Circuit Court of Appeals struck down a residency requirement in Maine. New York legalized adult use marijuana in March 2021 through the MRTA, and the state began accepting business license applications the following year. But before its first permits were issued in the fall of 2022, a company called Verasite, rhymes with parasite. I don't think that was by accident. Verasite, New York won. Verasite sued the state of New York. Verasite, which is 51% owned by Michigan resident Kenneth Gray, we covered that story too, thought how crazy it was denied a license because Gay did not have a marijuana conviction from New York. Though Jeff Jensen's name did not appear on the initial complaint, New York Cannabis Insider reported that records indicate the California-based attorney owned the other 49% of that business. The suit paused the licensing processes entirely in key regions of New York. Axel Barnaby, the then chief of staff for the New York Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, said the legal challenge also created significant uncertainty among investors as well as would-be licensees at a key time. Here's what he said. It created a confusion and slowed capital getting into the licensees who were supposed to be in pole position. It shook people's faith in the process, and it pulled resources away from a brand new agency that now has to focus on fighting a lawsuit when there was other work the agency should have been doing. The Jensen's playbook was not new. The Verisight lawsuit in New York was similar to a February 2022 lawsuit filed in federal court in California to challenge Sacramento's social equity laws on the same basis. Being that it was in February 2022, maybe they got a thing for doing this shit in Black History Month, but I don't know. You be the judge there. In court filings, Gay also was named as a shareholder for an operation denied a license because he did not meet residency requirements though his time at the company was called Peridot Tree. Some of you guys might remember that company back in the day too. And after the suits in New York were filed, a similar lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles followed in November 2022. The suit has certainly had a chilling effect in Los Angeles, where the Department of Cannabis Regulation has had to move carefully when opening new application windows for social equity verification, because it could open them up also to litigation. Matal Manzouri, managing partner of Manzouri Law, said to MJ Biz Daily as well. So my question to you guys is, who the fuck are the Jensens? Roberts wrote in the article that Jeffrey Jensen, his current reputation is sort of a reverse social justice warrior, might seem like a departure from his first foray into cannabis when he declared that he cares deeply about social justice. Back in 2019, the Jensens were a self-described, locally highly educated Pasadena couple that assembled an all-star team of operators in Emerald Farms, Pasadena, which unsuccessfully applied for one of a handful of highly coveted retail permits in the city. Pasadena, the Emerald Farms Pasadena application noted, was committed to, quote, rectifying some of the damage done by the war on drugs waged against our own citizens. According to application package, the Jensens were minority partners in an ownership group that included California giant CannaCraft and Cookies Real Estate, which currently operates retail stores under that iconic brand name across the U.S. The couple emphasized their deep roots in Pasadena, where they were married in a local courthouse and their children attended public school. A brief bio on Justina began with her childhood in Soviet Union-dominated Poland, where she immigrated in 2001, and detailed how she paid her way through California business school by cleaning houses. As for Jeff, he left a promising career in engineering to teach math at a low-income school in South Central LA, where he observed firsthand the disproportionate enforcement of drug laws against minority communities. Emerald Farms' application was one of 122 submitted in Pasadena in June 2019. Pasadena awarded licenses to the top 6 scoring applications. Emerald Farms scored 37th. I can just imagine how tightly grasps Jeff, and his Chad hands were clenched at this point. Because it seems that may have been the moment he snapped and started suing everybody. Litany of other issues plague New York cannabis economy, but a big portion of them are lawsuits tied to an unfair rollout. And observers say the Jensens have been playing a role in everything. Per the article, in a settlement approved May 2023, New York's OCM agreed to give Verisight One a retail permit if he just dropped the damn challenges.
No.
But that fall,
sounds like a quid pro quo.
Company, right? But that fall, companies formed in November 2023 also had the word Verisight in their names, filed fresh lawsuits against the state during a just open application window. Gay's not involved with those companies, but they're all 49% owned by him. Following these filings, another challenge appeared December 2023 in Washington State, filed by Peridot Tree, Washington. Until this year, his wife, Justina, was not even visible on any of the other lawsuits, but that changed in January, and she became the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit filed against Maryland Cannabis Administration. Maryland is the new target, and congratulations, y'all got a new Karen on your hands. So,
Wow.
This shit is crazy. Shit is out of control. But what are you going to be able to do here? Me and Dale and others now too. We've been beating this drum for a long time. It is unconstitutional, especially on the federal level. I don't see how social equity is going to survive. There's going to be people who get pissed off along the way who do not look like the people who these laws were targeted to assist. There's going to be people who weren't involved in any of the inequity in the past, or any of they don't have past cannabis convictions, but they're coming through as white knights. They're going to help your company out. These people are out there. They're bad people. They're going to be doing this shit, but it's legal. What are we going to be able to do about it? In cannabis? I don't know. But if you're in mainstream America looking to get into social equity programming and stuff like that, do your research first. It's going to be a long slog if anything positive comes of this. And on a federal level, I just do not see it happening. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Let's talk about it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
This is so rich.
Man, I don't even...
First of all,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Can we just refer this whole story to Blacklist and let them just have this, like, make it rain, because...
Are you saying it because they were white?
Insane. This is insane. But no, that has nothing to do with it. I'm just talking about putting the haterade out there, please.
It's crazy.
These two have a lot of fucking balls, first of all. Skin color aside, the fact that they came in originally and started to stand on some kind of social justice platform, and now they're wreaking havoc, trying to stress out systems that already don't have financial support and are making it 10 times harder for those who actually deserve this kind of opportunity. It's unforgivable, actually. Blacklist, come get the Jensens, please.
I don't think that's their last names. I don't think any of these are their real legal names. I think
I'm about to set up like
names.
one of those little boards you see in in a movie with the detective with the strings and the pictures, because trying to keep track of, just through this article, I was like, I know you guys have covered it a few times, but I'm about to need to make a whole flow chart over here to understand the individuals and the entities and the states and the regulatory bodies that are and the courts now that are involved.
It all starts in Pasadena, just so you know.
Yeah, it all started in Pasadena.
Yeah.
If only those pesky Pasadena regulators had issued that license, we wouldn't be doing all this.
Exactly.
These two they're like little cockroaches. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you two?
Somebody's paying for this. This shit ain't cheap. Somebody's paying for this.
Oh, well, he's an attorney, right?
Yeah, they're attorneys. They're attorneys, Dale.
Yeah. That's why
they're
I get that.
highly educated on their application.
Highly educated.
I'm an attorney too. And before I go to 10 states and start filing applications for licenses, I want to know who's my sugar daddy. Okay, someone's got to pay for this shit, because you may not get legal fees, but someone's got to file the tens of thousands of application fees. I mean, you got to go bribe all the local people to be on your permit with you. There's so much. I mean, bribe's the wrong word.
To apply for a social equity license, you don't need any money to apply. You need money.
And they could probably.
Well, you need money to put together the application, Manndie. You need money to put together the application. There might not be a filing fee, but unless you know how to put that application together, people aren't going to do that for free.
Yeah, they keep on taking 49%.
They're not.
What are you saying?
It's not.
I said they keep on taking 49% of these businesses and not putting. You're like, oh yeah, we'll put up all the money for you, let you apply, and all this stuff.
They actually take more than 49% in one contract, but 49 or less in a separate contract that gets submitted. That's
once the government can have the numbers they want the government to see. Back contracts, which I've seen too many of them, are disgusting. They just take the social equity people and get them these licenses and park them off the side, maybe give them a few dollars, placate them for a while, and then they kick them to the curb when they can. That's what happens in reality, and it's disgusting. And Rico, I'm certainly hoping that Mr. Jensen gets some bad news out of our Ninth Circuit that The Congress has acted on this, and the Dormant Commerce Clause don't work. Fuck you, sit down, shut up.
Like, I know we're at the tail end of the show, and I hope that these Jensens watch this episode. Let's find their Instagram handle and tag them to make sure that they see it. But shame on you guys, seriously. This is so disgusting. This is so. You should be embarrassed for yourself.
It sounds like they're so good at this. It sounds like they're so good at this. I mean, I'm surprised that, I mean, who knows? I mean, they could be working for, different larger MSO organizations that
it could be.
Yeah, that's very, very, very possible that they're just there to they're just there to rile everything up, and like you said, Dale, stress the system, and one has to ask the question in regards to stretching the system. When you built your system on strong foundation, you don't really have these problems, and the whole cannabis industry is built on a flawed system to begin with. So there's no wonder that they're able to stress the system so much, Dale.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. This is about somebody wants to get in the industry, and money's being paid somewhere. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but what I've seen when you get behind the scenes is this is a cash industry. People's palms get greased. Someone's paying for airline tickets. Someone's paying for a consultant. Absolutely. I mean, this is the kind of shit that goes on. And the social equity people want to have, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. The problem is you're dealing with people who will fuck you in a heartbeat, and you're trying to play a system right, and they're looking for cracks in the system.
Watch who they try to sell these licenses to. If they ever do get them through this litigation, that might indicate to you who is potentially involved with it the entire time.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. I smell a psyop, and maybe it's Taylor Swift.
If anybody could do it, she could. She is that powerful.
I was not expecting that M. Night Shyamalan twist, Jason.
Yeah. see how we do that?
But I wanted that on my security patrol, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, put her 72-year-old knockout champion. I want to see Taylor Swift's dad go against Mike Tyson. How about that?
Oh, that would be a good fight. We need to get Dana White involved. Two
old ass men, and only one of them has
actual. Can't take his gummies because that'll be a performance enhancing drug.
Yes, but maybe you'll hear better.
If he does, he's got to eat the ones that look like Evander Holyfield's ears.
Yeah, the ears. Yeah, that's the only ones. Yeah, that's the only ones they do. That's the only ones.
Oh, it is okay.
Yeah,
I mean that's the only one worth eating. So I'm glad they don't make any other ones.
Exactly. There's no point.
Yeah. Gotta go, guys.
But I will say this. Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say this. On this, I hope that we continue to follow this story, and Dale too. I hope you when there is a new filing, I want to make sure that you're following up with that on your story as well. And I just have to say one thing for all you guys: weed for the people.
Weed for people. And weed was for the people.
Always wins.
That's right.
It is.
We wouldn't have a need for the Schafer. We wouldn't have a need for the Jensens here.
I still don't think it's their last name. I'm not buying that. I feel like this is aliases. I feel like they should have just used the name the Joneses.
And drink the Kool-Aid, right?
I mean, somebody asked Burner if he remembers the Jensens.
Yeah, I feel like it's just that's it.
Anyways, thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the Superfan Show and love getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience, online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing this much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, the House of Fuego. Oh no, not them.
Whoa.
Cloud Media Partners. Oh. Give me the rusty trombone.
Jeez Louise, bro.
Cloud Media Partners, the sponsors keeping our lights on. Usually, all of our AV struggles to a minimum. And behind the scenes, we got Demetrius.
And Adam. We got Adam and Demetrius today.
I don't want to call him Big. I don't know if you go by Big Meat. I don't want to call you Big Meat. Can I call you like Mid Meat? No,
we have feathered hair and long and curly hair in the studio today.
Big curl.
Yeah, big curl.
Big curl, little feather.
We call him big curl.
Big curl, little feather.
Little feather.
Little feather.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Got a ring to it.
There we go.
As always, Cannabis Steve L. The reason we read these headlines every single day. Thank you, baby girl. It has been Hump Day, Wednesday, February 28th. not the last day of Black History Month because we are leaping into the future, Jason. Beware.
I noticed.
Tomorrow.
You know what, Rico? I find it funny that leap year always falls on the presidential election year. They get an extra day of campaigning for free.
That's all 5 years. Every 5 years.
You know what I find
It's every
interesting
four.
is why this isn't it should be an international holiday. Like, are we you get your pay adjusted by an extra day?
No.
Our extra day should be for us.
No. You get free rent. You get free rent that day because you technically only pay for 28.
Yeah.
You get free rent. That's what you get on the 29th of February. It's free for everybody.
That's a whole nother question, because I think if I'm shorter month should have less rent, right?
No, that's not how it works.
Full rent should only apply to 31-day months.
No, that's some communist shit.
How is that? Paying rent is inherently not communist, my man.
Rent is communist.
That's a new one.
Ownership is capitalist. You all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. And Sohum, tell us about your communist ways.
Well, on that note, everybody, happy hump day, happy leap day eve. I think, even if you can't take tomorrow off, take some time to do something for yourself, because we get an extra day this year. And one last thing, fuck Leeds, go Chelsea today.
Oh, international.